Hello everyone, a very good afternoon. I'd like to thank Intriq Travel for giving me this opportunity to share, and very honored to be their first speaker of a series that they are trying to arrange. Okay, I went to Saudi Arabia January 2020. It was my second last trip before the whole border shut down. Saudi Arabia was just open to tourism September 2019. Okay, and I guess from March 2020 onwards, all of you all know that, not to talk about Saudi Arabia, even Thailand is closed to tourism. So I'm extremely fortunate to be able to visit this mysterious country within that short window of days, okay, and it has been extremely rewarding. And therefore, after the pandemic, I'm definitely going to continue my travel ethos. That is, whenever there's an opportunity, travel. Okay, don't waste a single day of your life. Okay, a lot of you are very avid travelers and hence probably been to a lot of countries that just opened up to tourism. And the very common slogan or a very common description to newly open destination is the people there are extremely friendly, uncommercialized, very warm, and so on. Having done such destination for a very long time, I would say Saudi Arabia beat any country I've experienced hands down. Okay, in my very short 2 weeks there, I think I was invited to dinner party at home more than a dozen times. Almost every stranger that I managed to strike a 5 minutes conversation with will invite me to their home for dinner. It was a really nice feeling. And in fact, not only that, sometimes I was traveling along the highway, I saw Arabic sign outside people's home, and the guide told me that the local actually put up signboard to say, if I'm tired on the highway, it's dangerous. Come in for a meal, or even come in and spend the night. Okay, so that's how warm and how hospitable Saudi are. And in fact, my wife, I went to this trip with my wife, just two of us, and we were very embarrassed because in one occasion in the bazaar, there was this young boy who went around and tried to show us his shop, tell us the history, show us almost everything about the shop in a very, very warm and very excited manner. And my wife and I were constantly looking at each other with that look like, hey, when is he going to start selling us? Come on, don't waste our time. And then finally he said, you are actually our first customer today. And two of us straight away think that I'm going to give you a discount or that kind of sales pitch. And he actually says that you are my first customer today. It will be very honored if you come to my house for dinner. Now, two of us were just so embarrassed, typical commercial idiots from a place like Singapore and then trying to judge the Saudi in that way. Okay, so of course, it's not just the friendly people that make Saudi Arabia so interesting. It is definitely with lots of other attraction. First of all, there are 6 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and we managed to visit 5 of them. And you can roam around all these UNESCO heritage sites with hardly any tourists in view. Okay. And gorgeous scenery, not just desert, but gorgeous mountain scenery, oases, and very unique architecture, like this super colorful one, which I'll talk about later in the itinerary. Okay, history. For history folks, it's very interesting. For non-history folk, the good news is it is very simple. Okay, simple to remember and simple to appreciate. Divided into 2 periods, pre-Islamic and then Islamic. Well, as you know, like anywhere else in the Middle East and the Northern Africa region, history is divided into pre-Islam and post-Islam. Now, as I mentioned, there are 6 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and on this trip I visited 5, and a lot of them have lots of historical significance. You can visit this rock art at Juba, which is 9,000 to 5,000 BC. Well, I have this equivalent period for of history in some other places, so that some of you may be familiar. Those who have been to northern Spain, the Altamira cave, yeah, it's about the same period. And Altamira cave, when I was there, actually just 3 months before this trip in northern Spain, I have to queue up for a long time to get into the cave, and I can't even see the original. Here's a replica. And here, I can go to this rock art, and I could touch it if I want, but of course I didn't. And with only the archaeologists and 2 of us in a total Saudi wilderness. Was that amazing? I am sure most of you all visited Petra before. So around the same period, the Nabatean, okay, you have an equally stunning site in Madin Saleh, which is the same period and actually coincides with the Roman period. In fact, Roman Empire is the one that ended Nabatean. All of you all know that Mecca and Medina, okay, they are in Saudi Arabia, the founding place of Islam. Unfortunately, there is no visit by non-Muslim. So we didn't get to see it. We're not quite ready to convert our religion. And with the founding of Mecca and with Mecca and Medina rising importance, Jeddah was actually founded as a port to go and visit Mecca and Medina. And then after that, that whole period, Saudi kind of basically a nomadic desert region without much history, important historical development. The Riyadh, which is actually near Riyadh, is actually also UNESCO World Heritage Site, and that to many is the founding of Saudi. Actually, it's the founding of Wahhabism, and it's the first time that the current Saudi family actually ruled over a part of Saudi Arabia. But just for a short period of time, I think 50 years or so, and then the whole Saudi went into this unity. Even Mecca and Medina was under the Mamelukes from Egypt and the various external forces, and then Ottoman. It was only in 1902, just 100 over years ago, that in this mammoth fort, the current founding father of the current Saudi family actually defeated the local warlords and started a 30 over years campaign fighting all the different tribes around Saudi Arabia and reunified the whole country and founded today's Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in 1932. So it is actually quite a young country in that sense. And of course, the discovery of oil in 1930 just changed about the facets of Saudi. Okay, I know not everybody here is into history, so I think that's enough. But the important thing is you can almost walk through this whole history, visiting 5 of the UNESCO heritage sites on our trip, which is what we did. Okay, we started off in Riyadh, and then we actually flew over to Hayil, visit the rock art in Juba, drive right across the desert to Aula and visit this amazing ruin of Madin Saleh, which is definitely the highlight of our trip. And then we flew down to Jeddah, enjoyed myself tremendously. We almost wanted to skip Abha. Luckily, we didn't, because that is probably the greatest surprise of our whole trip and the most enjoyable of our whole trip. Okay, so let me start with Riyadh, which is actually the capital of Saudi Arabia. When we first arrived, I must say it wasn't extremely attractive. It reminded me of smaller Dubai, a less interesting Doha, and so on. But it is really, you must go there because that is the heart and soul of Saudi Arabia, the culture, the political center. It's almost like flying into Beijing and you don't go and see the Forbidden Palace. You drive around Third Ring Road or some of the commercial regions. Yeah, Beijing is not interesting. You know, it's just a modern version of China or something. It's just totally unfair. Stay in Riyadh and then go and visit some of the most important historical sites and get a very good introduction into Saudi Arabia. I think Riyadh and Jeddah are 2 of the biggest cities in Saudi Arabia. A lot of people say, can I do only one? How do you compare the 2? Just like how people want to compare Madrid, Barcelona, Moscow, St. Petersburg. So I drew up this table, perhaps as the best comparison. Riyadh is like your Beijing, like your Madrid, like your Moscow, like your Washington, D.C., the capital of the country. right in the heart of the country, political, cultural center. But the economic heartbeat of these places, Beijing, Shanghai, Beijing is in Shanghai, China is in Shanghai, Spain is in Barcelona, Russia in St. Petersburg, and USA in New York. So it is Jeddah that is the international gateway, the economic center, and to a large extent where the country faces the outside world. So perhaps this is the best comparison. Which one should you visit? Try to visit both. Okay, if not, well, see which one you prefer in those countries, and then you can decide for yourself which one you should visit if you only have time for one. So, if you remember my historical chart, Diriyah is actually the place where Wahhabism was founded, and it is here where the first Saudi, the current Saudi family actually first ruled part of Saudi Arabia. Okay, and it is of great historical importance and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It happened about some 500 years ago. And today, people describe it to be the Pompeii of Saudi Arabia. Okay, well, the history is not quite as long, but again, like anywhere in Saudi Arabia, the big attraction is, imagine we're roaming through all this without any tourists. Literally for the whole afternoon, we didn't see any other foreign tourists. That's the beauty of it. I probably enjoyed it more than Pompeii. Okay, this Merman's Fort is probably like the forbidden city of Riyadh. Okay, it is here that in 1902, again, if you remember my historical chart, after Saudi is in disunity for many, many years, the current Saudi family, the founding father of the kingdom, actually defeated the local warlord at this Masmak fort, and then established his power and started his 30-year campaign to conquer the whole Saudi Arabia and unite Saudi Arabia kingdom as it is today. So the founding father is called Imsal. He's probably the Qin Shi Wang of Saudi Arabia, and this is probably the Forbidden City. Some kind of comparison there. And today is a very lovely museum. Definitely your first stop, well, second stop after Diriyah, and you should visit this fort here. This is a current Saudi family. Okay, so this guy here is actually Imsal. Okay, he has 35 children. Okay, and how many wives? Nobody cares, unfortunately. Okay, how many daughters? Really, who cares? Nobody cares. So we probably cannot get a record of it. Okay. In fact, it is interesting that a lot of the ladies here don't even have a name. Let's say, for example, Jess. I'm sorry, Jess is you don't have a name, Jess. You are probably hi, Jim's wife. You know, or your son is Jaden, right? Yeah, hi, Jaden's mother. You know, that's you. Okay, so that's the culture there in Saudi Arabia. So they have him as a founding father some 70 years ago. Oh, time flies, now 90 years ago. Okay, in 1932, he founded the kingdom and he continued rule until 1953. After that, they have 6 kings. All of them are his son, which means for 6 generations, they have actually been passing from one brother to another. I think the next one should be the 3rd generations already. Okay, and well, again, Saudi Arabia, you definitely should know a bit of the gossip and history of the royal family. Anyway, it's the only country in the world where the whole country is named after the ruling family. This is the Saud family. Before this family, this place is not called Saudi Arabia. I don't know what it's called. Okay, Saudi Arabia is named Saudi Arabia because it belongs to this family. It's probably the only country in the world that do that. Well, the tale is probably much more interesting than the royal family of Britain. Okay, I think I should stop here. Okay, so there are many, many interesting sites in Riyadh. Well, definitely enough to cover a whole day there. Apart from Diriyah, which I mentioned, as well as the Merman's Fort, which you will visit from Riyadh, the Diriyah Souk. If you are all of you who have been to Middle East will know that Souk is a heartbeat of the city, of a town, of village. Okay, so you should visit Diriyah Souk. you should visit this Kingdom Tower here, which is the highest building in the world, and walk along this sky bridge here. And I stayed in somewhere here. My room is probably here, and that's the Four Seasons of Riyadh. Okay, definitely the best location with a wonderful view, and well, it's Four Seasons, so it's very enjoyable, very nice. Okay, there is also a Ritz-Carlton, which is just about 15 minutes away from here, but because I chose Ritz-Carlton in Jeddah, and therefore I thought I'd try Four Seasons in Riyadh. I like the National Museum very much as well, and this is the closest and the best experience you can get to experience the Mecca Mosque. Okay, there's a big model of the Mecca Mosque as well as the Medina Mosque, and this this stone here, the black stone, is a Kaaba stone where during Hajj everybody go around it. So stretch your imagination a bit. This is as much as you can know about Mecca. Okay, and I also love the part where where this museum described the journey of Muhammad and his founding of the religion. Because Islam do not allow any picture of the Prophet or the God. They only have patterns and so on. But there's a gallery that through very innovative lights and abstract ways of depicting the story. It was very enjoyable. I can't describe it here. You just have to go there and experience it. It's a fabulous museum. Okay. Okay, so I think Riyadh is not the place where you party at night and go shopping. Well, by the way, Saudi Arabia is extremely expensive. So after you see the things, you probably want to move on. It's not a place for you to have nightlife and drink. No alcohol. It's just a place where after seeing the thing, you move on. So we stayed there for 2 nights, and then we came to Haiyu here. Okay, and this is the Haiyu Castle. We came to Haiyu basically for visiting the Juba rock art. Okay, and this little castle is a surprise because Haiyu actually submit to insult without a fight, and therefore the whole castle is very well preserved, and it's smallish, it's charming. And we were also very lucky that when we were there, we chanced upon a Haiyu School Fun Fair, and the experience was great. Walking along the fun fair, everybody seeing that we are foreigners, packet something to let us dabao home. After that, at the end of the fun fair, we were probably carrying enough food to feed the whole village. Okay, and we have to bring the food back to our vehicle and then continue to explore the fun fair. The people are so friendly. And sometimes we see all these ladies in veil, like there are some, I don't know, some non-character. But it was very interesting to be able to talk to this young girl here, who is actually a college girl, and hear of an aspiration of wanting to be environmentalist and talk about how much she loves the nature. So it's Saudi come alive. I think without those experiences, it's always a great misunderstanding of how the local folks are. I remember I had a terrible impression of Iran. I think many of you have been to Iran. I think the best thing about Iran is after Iran, it's like, oh, the people there are so friendly, and so just open up a different perspective to a country. And Saudi give me a lot of the feeling, if not more. So we spent a lot of time at this Haiyu Fun Fair, and then we went to Juba, and it is here in this wilderness that we saw all this rock art. And it ranged from, because there used to be a river here, and therefore there were a lot of human activities, and they painted a lot of this great rock art here. Okay, and these were their kings and queens, and you can see that at that time, this little guy here already had a spear to hunt the animals. Okay, and again, the beauty of it is, it was only us, my wife and I, this wilderness and this rock art, and nothing else. And of course, our excellent archaeologists here, who, of course, they invited us to his home, and we had a home visit of the archaeologist. And you cannot see quite from this picture here, these 2 boys are the son of the archaeologist, and they were able to write the language of that 5,000 years ago. The people, they were able to write and communicate in that language. It is almost like saying that the Chinese can, the local Chinese can read and write 甲骨文, you know, those ancient Chinese language. So is that amazing? Okay. So that's our Hayu. And then after Hayu, we actually drive about 6-7 hours across to Madain Salai. Okay? And especially when we near Madain Salai, the scenery was, well, it's so quintessential of Saudi Arabia. Endless stretches of desert, little oases popping up, and so on. Okay. Just now I mentioned, Madain Saleh is actually the sister city of Petra. Okay, those of you who have been to Petra will probably know this part of history a bit, so let me just very quickly go through. They are the two most important cities of this Nabatean Empire, and Nabatean Empire prospered basically because of the frankincense route. Okay, a Roman Empire at that time had three very important foreign imported luxury: silk from China, which gave rise to the Silk Road; spices from Indonesia, which give rise to spice route; and for all the religious purposes as well as fragrance in home, they imported the frankincense from Arabia, and therefore this incense route. So the place where frankincense is grown is actually in today's Yemen, well, the land of Queen Sheba. They produce it, and then they actually travel right through the Saudi desert, and nearing it, you have this Madain Salai and Petra. So these two cities prosper as a very important point on the trade route and became extremely rich. And Nabatean Empire definitely became very powerful and very prosperous. Okay, so again, how you compare Petra and Madain Salai? The usual chart. Petra was the capital and where the royal family lived. So Petra is like your Riyadh, like your Beijing, like your Madrid, like your Moscow, like your Washington DC. Madain Salai is the Shanghai, the New York, the Jeddah, the Barcelona, and the St. Petersburg. Okay, so that's what it is. Well, St. Petersburg is not quite, because St. Petersburg used to be political center as well. So like the rest. Okay, so yeah, but I think for most tourists, the greatest difference between Petra and Madain Salai is shown in this picture. In Petra, perpetual crowd. I mean, excuse me. Perpetual crowd. I still remember I have to queue up for the horse cart. I have to, I don't know, queue up for the tickets. It's always good. I can't find a place where I can take a photo without a tourist. Okay, in Madain Salai, where are the tourists? I probably need to put in some effort finding the tourists. Anyway, I could roam around this wonderful site and really just contemplate how history evolved in this place some 2,000 years ago. It's marvelous. Okay, I don't think I've been in any great historical site in such a setting without any tourists at all before. Okay, and like I say, Petra was the capital, the seat of the royal family. Madain Salai is the place where all the richest family are. Okay, today's Mark Zuckerberg or whatever you are there. Okay, so there are an endless story of all this wealthy family, how they built their wealth along the incense trail, and every tomb tells a story. And there are 131 mausoleum sites there. Definitely, we spent sort of a good half to 3/4 days there, and we definitely cannot visit all 131 of them. Even the popular one sit quietly around the corner. Okay, so that's Madain Salai. Again, it warrant a whole day lecture on it, but okay, I need to watch my time. So this is Madain Salai. Okay, and it's not just the Madain Salai that is interesting. Ula is the city where you stay in. Madain Salai is the site. Okay, there are many other interesting sites in Ula as well, such as this place with a wonderful bird eye view of the whole surrounding desert, just a viewpoint. And this one here is actually a railway station built by the Ottoman Turks to link Damascus with Mecca. Okay, so it's a midway stop. So again, I love you very much. And just lots of strange rock formation around the place. And one good thing about Saudi is, despite the lack of tourism, accommodation is extremely comfortable because of the very wealthy locals. Okay, so there are lots of luxury tents, which is a perfect setting for you to stay in the place like Madain Salai. And actually, currently, these are some of the names. I cannot remember the names of the tents, but they are available. But in about 3 years' time, Aman, our famous Aman Resort, is going to build 3 properties in this place. So you will have Aman in this place very soon. Okay. And not only that, there is this Sean Novell. He's the one who designed the Louvre Museum in Abu Dhabi, as well as the National Museum of Qatar in Doha. He is already commissioned to build this, to design this Sharan Cave Hotel right there at Madain Salai as well. So this place go there. If I were you, I wouldn't wait for all this to be ready. Okay, you go there, because by the time all these are ready, it's different. Okay, same thing. I remember I went to I went to Bhutan in 1997. Okay, before Como Hotel, before Aman Hotel, and fair enough, my accommodation then it's cold shower, I have to shiver and all that. But the reward of Bhutan then and now are different. Anytime I will trade Aman and those luxury hotels for the experience. Okay, but you decide yourself. Okay, after Madain Salai, we went to Ula, and then we flew to Jeddah. Okay, Jeddah was founded because of Mecca. Okay, Muhammad founded the religion in the year 632, and after that, well, it's one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Fasting, believe in one God, and one of the 5 pillars is actually to visit Mecca on Hajj. Okay, and from then until today, actually until say the 15th century, Europe was dark ages. Okay, China was too far. India later was also was quite insignificant. It was the Islamic world that was the richest. It was a time when Baghdad was many times bigger than London. Damascus was the center of learning. Cairo has the first university in the world. At that time, the wealth and the intellects and everything was in the Islamic world. And imagine all these extremely well-to-do people have to visit Mecca. And they will access Mecca through Jeddah. Jeddah was actually founded by the 3rd Caliph of the Umayyad Empire. And so you can imagine the kind of traffic that flows through Jeddah, the wealth, the importance as an international gateway. Okay, for information, one of the envoy of Zheng He actually went through this Jeddah to visit Mecca as well. So it's such an international melting pot, and which leaves behind many aspects of history throughout this 1,500 years. And of course, most of it was left behind by the Ottoman Turks. Okay, so a lot of this has the Turkish influence there. And old Jeddah is where everything is. It's just such a gem. Okay, we spent again half a day to 3/4 days there, just wandering around this old town, and it is a very good blend of being well preserved, and yet there's still a lot of local life going on there. It's not some of the well preserved historicity end up like open air museum. This one is an open air museum with a lot of local life in there, which is really good. Okay, and this is the old Jeddah Mecca's gate, which for 1,500 years, a refurbished one. You can see they didn't do a good job refurbishing it. Okay, I thought it looks a bit Disney-like, but anyway, this is the old Mecca gate, where for 1,500 years, everybody come to Jeddah and start their Hajj and march towards Mecca out of this gate. In the year 1979, with all the wealth and modernism, and the Saudi king actually built this modern New Jeddah gate. Of course, today, people don't walk out of this gate, but it's an 8-lane highway, and within, it's 90 kilometers. Within an hour, you'll be right there in Mecca. Okay? So, and yeah, this is Old Jeddah again. Different color window represent different types of people living in there. Okay, if I'm not wrong, for one whole year I haven't been traveling, so I forgot a lot of historical facts. Okay, I think green is means those religious leaders, those learned scholars and all that. Brown, and in fact this building here is brown is definitely for the merchants, because this is actually owned by one of the richest merchants in Jeddah at that time. And pink, I don't know why people always think pink to be a certain meaning, and this is actually the place where the pink is the house of the entertainer, the artists and all that. Okay, at that time they weren't too well respected. Okay. We spend the time roaming, understand all these historical sites, as well as visit many of the beautiful homes. But what I enjoyed a lot is actually going into a lot of the cafes. You can see that now the local Saudi are starting to mix around in the same cafe. The law was just passed recently that they can be in the same restaurant. Okay. In fact, the ladies were actually very excited, because I remember I barged into one of the rooms with all the ladies unveiled and all that, and I was quite worried. I almost backed off, and the lady just smiled, "Come in, come in, come in," and just invited us into the same room. So those nice experiences. And I remember sitting in one of the cafe, and across a small alley was a mosque. Okay? And we're just sitting there for close to 45 minutes, drinking coffee and seeing the endless strings of devotees going into the mosque, calmly going to pray and then come out, and it was so peaceful and so nice. I just can't understand why the whole world will look at Muslim in that view. They really just want to go and pray to have a good life, like most of us going to a temple or a church. Okay. So Old Jeddah, it's one of my most enjoyable spots in the whole trip as well. Okay, and it's for people who like portrait photography. This is just heaven. Outside Old Jeddah, the New Jeddah is totally different. This is New Jeddah, okay, and this is the Corniche. Okay? And there is this big, huge fountain there. It's 260 meters tall, 260 meters, okay, with 500 spotlights shining at it at night. Okay? It's the highest waterfall in the world, and it dominates the whole coast. And because of the wealth of Saudi, along the city is dotted with very expensive arts from international artists as well as local artists, including right by the roadside a piece by Salvador Dali. That's how much wealth there is in the city. Amazing to roam around. Okay, and we stayed in this Ritz-Carlton. You can see that it's just right there from our room. We can actually look at the fountain. Okay, I think we were upgraded to a suite in Ritz-Carlton. So anyone we book with Intriq, make sure we need to do that for you. We need, I know you're listening, sorry to give you a bit of pressure there. Pay standard room, get upgraded to suite. Okay. And then you'll be looking at these fountains all the time. And it's also the center of the promenade and the Corniche. Okay. And I know a lot of you all like more cozy things, and sometimes those opulence is not there for you. But I think in Saudi Arabia, you have to experience one of this royal opulence to understand what Saudi Arabia is all about. And Ritz-Carlton is just a good place to do it. And we also have one of our best meals there. Okay, talking about meal, I hope none of you expect a gourmet trip when you go to Saudi Arabia. This is our best meal. Okay. Okay, now our last stop is actually Abha, and like I said, it was we almost want to skip it, and luckily we didn't. And unfortunately, we didn't spend one night there. It is really the highlight of our trip. We love it so much, and that's why I felt that for those of you who are who have less time, okay, you can actually trade Hayu. You can actually trade Hayu for more time in Abha, because Hayu, although I talk about the little Hayu, didn't have really any stunning attraction. Well, if you're a history buff, you should go and see the rock art, but that may not be everybody's cup of tea. But otherwise, I enjoyed that place very much because there's no tourists, and that little fort is small, easy to comprehend, and it's intact. And then I chanced upon a school fun fair. Okay, all these things you could have gotten in Apa, and Apa has a lot more. Okay. So this is Apa there. You can see it's right at the border with Yemen, and mountain. That's the part where Saudi Arabia become the most mountainous. Okay, and they have this mud village architecture. I don't know how many have been to Yemen. Okay, probably not many because it was closed due to war quite a while ago. And they actually have, it's actually the mud architecture, and there is a town, Shibam in Yemen, which is described as the Manhattan built by mud, because of all the skyscrapers, which some rises to more than 10 stories, I remember. And then here, around this region, because of the Yemeni influence, there's actually a lot of all this mud architecture that rise more than 5 to 6 stories. It's very beautiful in that setting and so on. And plus, they love to decorate themselves with all this riot of brilliant bright color, and it's such a sight and so refreshing in the desert mountain region. Very beautiful area. And one of the most beautiful village is this Hamsan village. It's actually like a home, okay, which is very well preserved. It's actually owned by a very, very rich Saudi family who decide to just open his home up and let it be used as a museum. So in there, they have restaurant, they have exhibition hall, they have a little museum, and so on. And because, well, when we visited, the owner actually, we chanced upon the owner and we were chat. And of course, even people like him invited us to his home to be his home guest for dinner, okay, in his home. Unfortunately, we were a bit short of time as we were only one night there. We really, we just had to reject it, which was such a shame, but it was really wonderful. Okay. The great trekking opportunity you can see from the mountain terrain, and you can trek from one village to another and actually experience some of those mud architecture out there in the countryside. Again, we only had one day, so we didn't get to do it. Yeah, you all should try to do it. Okay? And surprisingly, it's also a place with a lot of local artists. Somehow that region actually is a place where a lot of the local artists were born and show their artwork there. And there's this Muftaha Art Gallery there. And again, we visited a lot of the art galleries. Some of them were modern art, some of them were now propagandically trying to show their royal family and so on. And of course, we were invited by a few artists to their home. Okay. And the highlight of our trip was perhaps a visit to the Abha Souk, the marketplace, the bazaar. Okay, and on the way there, we actually just come across these two villages. You can really see from their dressing, completely nothing modern, and every of those villages will carry a knife. You can see they are not here for us to take a picture and collect $10 like many other places. They were just villages. In fact, they were coming to this well to collect water, and we chanced upon them. Our guide couldn't even speak their language, and then they took this photo for us. Okay, just think of these two villages carrying this beautiful knife here. From there, after this encounter, we were in the bazaar. So we love these knives. Okay, the bazaar sells many other things. We love this knife, and we saw this one that's beautiful, and we said we want to buy it. And then we start negotiating it. And finally, we agreed on the price of $200 US. We said, wow, this little bazaar sell a knife for $200. And just before we want to pay and close the transaction, we were so embarrassed that this knife actually cost $20,000. We missed out 20. Imagine in a nondescript place like this, right there on the bazaar, knives were selling for $20,000 US. Okay, and that's just amazing. It can show the wealth and money you have out there in Saudi Arabia. And this old man's owner of the knife over here in Singapore, it would have been the most awkward experience. The nice seller probably said, hey, we're trying to insult me, go fly kite or something like that. But this old man actually apologized and invited us to his home for dinner. Okay, which of course we have to say no. Okay? And remember the little boy who tried to, the little young man who my wife and I suspected, which I talked about in the beginning of the slideshow, the one that we suspected him, but he was actually trying to invite us to his home. He was actually selling real knife out there, a real gun down there at the bazaar. Okay, and you can just buy all this gun, actual gun that can shoot people and kill people. Okay, okay, so that's our itinerary. Riyadh, Hayil, go to Juba, come down to Madin Salai, then Jeddah, and then Abha, and then we fly back there to Jeddah to fly home. Okay, you can see that for Saudi, okay, if you want history, you can have everything 2,000 years ago as old as Madin Salai, and then the rock art or Old Jeddah, which tells of all the stories. Okay, and the cities is as contrasting as something so modern and so artificial like Riyadh, all the way to charming village-like setting in the mountain in Abha, scenery from endless desert to spectacular mountain. All these are very interesting, but I think the best thing is to go Saudi Arabia like right now, okay, where the people are still so friendly and you can roam and explore all those wonderful UNESCO World Heritage sites without the usual crowd of tourists. Okay, and no tourists, not because of COVID, we went there pre-COVID. Okay, so my suggestion is, as soon as COVID is over, go to Saudi Arabia.
So that's the end of the webinar, and thank you for watching. Please go to our website to check more details.